Thank you, Fran, very much. Folks, would you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin this evening with an invitation to anyone in the audience that would like to discuss with council an issue that is not included on tonight's agenda. Mr. Nitzel, I believe you're on the list.
I have my hand up.
Please tell us your full name and your address.
My name is Nick Nutzel. I live at 1114 Iowa Avenue. I'm here tonight to represent our group that we've begun to call the Friends of Iowa Field. I'm also representing many residents of Muscatine who have signed the petition, and apparently representing residents around the world, according to our social media sites. So I'm very honored to, especially the gentleman in Puerto Rico, former resident of Muscatine. So anyway, we have something to present. If we can approach, be okay?
Please do.
Thank you.
Thanks. You can leave some of one.
I'll leave that there for him.
Thank you.
Pass that down to Franny.
We have just handed the mayor a petition with 1,550 names on it that want to keep Iowa Field a green space. And I think for 2 weeks of time in order to collect those signatures, I think that's a heck of a number. So I want to thank all of you who signed the petition, all of you who took a petition out to get signatures. Real quickly, I want to tell you a quick story. A friend of mine, my wife sent out an email. Oh, by the way, that was my wife, Lori. I know you all met 2 weeks ago. She sent out an email for friends of ours to collect signatures, and a great friend of ours who had just had hip surgery said that he would go out and collect signatures, but he called my wife and said, I want to tell you something. I'm going to go out and collect because I have to go out and do my exercise, but he said, I can tell you right now that 95% of the people in my neighborhood either don't know where Iowa Field is or don't care where Iowa Field is. And he said, I think I upset your wife when I told her that, but he's known to be very blunt. And I told him, I said, listen, you know, if that's your deal, if that's what you believe, that's great. But I said, we appreciate you getting the signatures. About 4 or 5 days later, he called me and he said, I have to tell you something. I got 50 signatures very quickly. And he said, every single person, almost every single person, had a story about Iowa Field. And he said, everyone knew where it was, everyone knew about it, and they had a story about it. And he said, they all told me, almost to a person, that they need to leave this field alone. And he said, I am stunned. I cannot believe it. He said, if 95% of the people don't care, I didn't meet any of them. And he said, I was wrong. I tell that story because, as you can see, people do care. But my favorite part of the story is that this guy had to tell me he was wrong, which was my favorite part of the whole deal, which is very rare for this guy. So anyway, I just wanted to give you that anecdotal story. Tonight we're here for a couple of reasons. The main one is to ask you to please separate the Iowa Field from the Colorado Street repair project. I handed you a letter from former city engineer Ray Childs. I want to briefly go through a couple of things that I've highlighted. This is dated May 18th of 1992. It was addressed to a citizen, and in the third paragraph I wanted to start, and it says, in the case of Iowa Field, that site is ideal for a stormwater retention and stabilization installation and simultaneously preserving some of the green space in the neighborhood. Moving on down the paragraph, as it stands for now, Iowa Field sits in the low end of a drainage way of an urbanized area of approximately 300 acres, extending from 11th and Iowa to Newell and Lucas, with several steep ravines and tributaries leading to flash flooding of Iowa Field at the 50-year and 100-year storm events. We witnessed those conditions in July and August of 1982 and 1990. This office must voice an objection to the use of Iowa Field for an urban development of any size that would require several smaller stormwater impoundments upstream and leave the lower part of the watershed untreated. Problems enough exist on treating the area drainage directly into the Papoose sewer, where space is not available for biofiltering. This opportunity to preserve existing space for future public use must not slip away. That is from Ray Childs, a highly revered and longtime city engineer of Muscatine. I also want you to know that I do have VHS video. I'm always 2 steps behind in technology, of the events of the flooding and the aftermath of that flooding. We also have one of our committee members who has done extensive work which demonstrates the letter that Ray Childs has sent in the past. We have a map of elevations and storm runoff that this gentleman did that indicate that Iowa Field is a natural sponge, which is a very important thing to remember, a natural sponge, and protects many residential properties, not just those bordering Iowa Field. This sponge is the last line of protection for many properties and in the center of town. We have much more in-depth information regarding this issue, but we will not present that at this time. If Iowa Field is developed, we will lose the protection of that. Many, many properties will lose that protection of that sponge. If this property were to be developed with street access, it would never meet the 60-foot requirement for street and sidewalks. According to Muscatine Magic Mapping, there's about 51 feet on the Iowa Avenue exit and around 50 feet on the Amy Drive exit. This would mean, if they ever wanted to develop that with streets, curb and gutter and sidewalks, this would mean more private property purchase, or the words that no one ever wants to hear, eminent domain. To maintain this incredible green space, the cost to the city of Muscatine, according to Rich Climbs from Muscatine Parks and Recreation, is about $500 a year or less. It's mowed approximately 30 times a year and is shoveled on occasion, of which I know Tim Storr, myself, and a gentleman up on 11th Street shovel it, and we have no problem with that. That person is paid about $10 an hour. This natural green space costs the city nothing. It was given to them by the school for, I believe, $1. And of course, since it's a city that pay no taxes, that means that this beautiful green space costs about $500 a year to keep and maintain. And of course, many of you have expressed your personal stories and personal connections to Iowa Field. Even council members have expressed their recollections of the field. There's a woman here tonight who had raised 3 sons in the area, and they used this field constantly, and she said, heck yeah, I'm coming tonight. I want everyone else to be able to use this field. I know we have a 90-year-old woman living on Roscoe who does not leave her home much. She's watching on television and wants to keep the field as it is. I want to give a shout out to Mrs. B on Roscoe. I know you're watching, so hopefully things will turn out the way you want them to. Many residents have enjoyed the countless parades that have been partially staged at Iowa Field with the horses. We have hot air balloons going up, sports practices, sometimes 3. I'm getting the pick it up thing, but I'll please indulge me if you would for a few more minutes. Sometimes 3 practices at a time, band practices, and so on. Many of those things lend themselves to the Blue Zone. Here's what we would like to see. This is why we're here. Our number 1 goal, after community input, many people calling us and calling members of our committee, our number 1 goal is to have the city continue to own and maintain Iowa Field as a natural green space in the center of our city, and or to designate Iowa Field as a park, and call it Iowa Field Park possibly. We would like to move Iowa Field's designation from a surplus asset and make it an asset for the people of Muscatine. The second option would be to have the field placed into a conservancy. If you were determined to get rid of Iowa Field, We have ideas, and we've already made some contacts, but please keep in mind, we've only had 2 weeks, okay? The third option would be to be purchased by individuals, an individual, or individuals, or neighbors, and kept as a natural green space. This would be very complicated. Much more information would be needed, and information and study would be needed, along with a lot more information. And there's an old adage that says you can't fight City Hall. We're not here to fight you, okay? We're here to fight for Iowa Field because it means so much to so many people. We want to work with you to find a solution to this problem. After all, that's really what defines city government, I mean, in our opinion. In summation, we would like to offer these things. We offer you petitions filled with names of many, many people in Muscatine that cover a whole gambit of walks of life, from young to old, rich to poor, and everywhere in between. Everyone has a story. Everyone loves the field. We offer you a letter from the former city engineer, Ray Childs, telling you that this must remain a green space. He's telling you why it needs to remain a green space. We offer you this, if I can use the word, iconic green space in the middle of town, used by many people for many reasons. This field has looked the same ever since I can remember. It is untouched and absolutely gorgeous. But most of all, we want to offer you our help to determine what is best for everyone in this situation. 2 weeks ago, we came within an eyelash of losing Iowa Field. And I want to thank Nathan Reichert for the heads up and letting us know what was going on, because we had no clue. We got here in short notice with no time to prepare, and you all listened to us. And you took your foot off the gas and considered what we said. And that includes city staff, Steve Boca, Randy Hill, and Greg Mansager. And we appreciate that. We applaud that, and we appreciate that you did that for us. We ask 2 things tonight. We ask that you separate this issue from Colorado Street repair, and we want to resolve the Iowa Field situation once and for all. We don't want to go through this again. We want to be part of the solution. We want this to be a win-win for everyone, and we understand your fiduciary responsibility to the people of Muscatine. Please don't think that we don't. We absolutely do. So, again, thank you for listening. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
And thank you for that presentation, Mr. Nitzel. I think it's safe to say, with all the communication that I'm assuming most of the council members got, in addition to the communication that I received, several different forms, I think it's safe to say we get it. So, yes, sir, you have an issue you'd like to discuss?
Yes, my name is Joseph Preston. I live at 1022 Clymer Street, which is a little bit further away than a lot of people from the field down there. I have a petition to present tonight. It's not a conflicting position with theirs. It is also a petition to preserve Iowa Field as a green place and declare it as a public park. Before I begin, though, I would like to correct one possible mistake or misprint that was in the paper and that I've heard city staff mention. They usually use the word, for Iowa Field, they say the acreage is 3 acres. According to the Muscatine Area Geographic Information Consortium, it's 5.74. Did something happen to the other 2.74 acres, or was that just a misprint or something?
It's there. It's there.
Pardon?
It's there.
It is 5.74?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you don't mind, sir, we heard a lot of comments 2 weeks ago from concerned citizens.
I will be very brief.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We just don't want to see the same movie over and over and over again.
No, you're not, and I have no intention. I had more to say, But Nick, I think, said everything that needed to be said. I too found it very easy to get signatures. There was me and one other person, and then 2 other people got some signatures. And had we had more time, I don't think it would have been hard to get a couple thousand signatures or more. So, without further ado, I would like to read our petition and present it to you.
Okay.
To the Muscatine City Council. Iowa Field has been a part of our Muscatine heritage since at least the 1930s. It is a beautiful green space in the middle of town, which contributes to keeping our air and water clean. This 5.74 acres of public property has been used for recreation and school functions by several generations of Muscatine residents. It was once a sports field for the old high school and later for the junior high school. It continues to be used and appreciated by many Muscatiners. Therefore, we, the undersigned citizens of Muscatine, petition our city council to permanently preserve this historic green space by designating it as a public park. And this signature is signed by 240. The petition is signed by 245 people from all over the city of Muscatine. Thank you.
And thank you, sir, for that presentation. Is there anyone else in council chambers that has an issue they'd like to discuss with the council this evening? If not, we'll move on. Item number 5 on your agenda is the consent agenda. The following items are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. The items include items 6A, items 8A through D, items 9A through B, items 12A through F, and tonight's bills totaling $1,488,377.60. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated?
So move, Your Honor.
That would be Bob.
Second.
Second, Tom. Any discussion, council? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. All right, moving down to item 7, public hearing. This public hearing concerns the proposed vacation of an alley right-of-way remnant in the city of Muscatine. A request has been received from H&I for the vacation of a portion of alley number 1 off of Mulberry Avenue in Block 16. H&I intends to maintain the vacated alley as an access route to a parking lot. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
Move to close the public hearing.
Motion to close by Phil,
Second, Your Honor.
second Scott. And we'll move to item B. This public hearing concerns the proposed vacation of utility easements in the Riverbend School addition in the city of Muscatine. A request has been received to vacate utility easements located on lots 21 and 22 of the Riverbend Second Edition on Claremont Drive. It is the property owner's intent to combine these two parcels, and the vacation of these utility easements will allow all necessary utility easements to be located along the perimeter. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Prior to any formal action by City Council, a public hearing is required. Now is the time for the public to comment.
Move to close.
Motion by Scott, second by Tom. And moving down to item 11 from the city administrator.
We need to vote on this.
My
both
bad,
of them.
my bad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0.
We didn't vote on this one.
Now we'll go to item 11 from the city administrator. Presented for City Council's consideration is the final reading of an ordinance revising Title VII Police Regulations, Chapter 18, Snow Emergency Regulations. When a snow emergency is declared, on-street parking is limited in order to allow plows to access and clear the entire street during a winter storm. This revised ordinance will affect those who park their vehicles on the streets of Muscatine outside the central business district. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on the final reading and direct it for publication as required by law?
So moved.
Motion by Jeanette
Second, Your Honor.
and second by Phil. Discussion, council. It's a roll call vote, starting with Jeanette
Aye.
and Bob
Aye.
and Scott.
Aye.
Phil.
Aye.
Mark
Aye.
and Tom.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item B, presented for City Council's consideration is the second and final reading of an ordinance vacating a public right-of-way remnant within the city of Muscatine. Salvatore and Stephanie Lobianco recently purchased a 3.94-acre parcel located off Myrtle Lane. They are requesting the city vacate, sell, and transfer to them a 10-foot wide access remnant that will allow for the extension of utilities to the property they recently purchased. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Staff is requesting the City Council waive the third reading and adopt the ordinance on the final reading. Is there a motion to adopt the ordinance on the final reading and direct for its publication as law by required?
So moved.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second Scott. Any discussion, council? It's a roll call vote, beginning with Mark.
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And Phil?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item C, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution authorizing the sale of city property to Salvatore and Stephanie Lobianco. In its previous action, City Council took action to vacate, sell, and transfer to the Lobiancos a 10-foot wide access remnant that will allow for the extension of utilities to the property they recently purchased. Staff is requesting the adoption of the resolution authorizing the sale of this property to the Lobiancos. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Scott, in a second.
Second.
Mark, okay, discussion, council? It's a roll call vote, beginning with Scott.
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
And Bob?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item D, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution approving an executed deed to Salvatore and Stephanie Lobianco. Well, those folks are getting a lot of press tonight, aren't they? In its previous action, City Council adopted the resolution authorizing the sale of a 10-foot wide access remnant that will allow for the extension of utilities to the property they recently purchased. It is now necessary for City Council to adopt the resolution approving the executed deed. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
That would be Jeanette.
Second.
Second, Tom. And discussion, council? Roll call vote, beginning with Jeanette.
Aye.
And Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item E, presented for City Council's consideration is the first reading of an ordinance vacating a public right-of-way in the city of Muscatine. As stated in the public hearing, HNI intends to construct and then maintain the vacated alley as an access route to a parking lot. Is there a motion to approve the first reading of the ordinance?
So moved, Your Honor.
That would be Bob,
Second.
and Mark is the second. Any discussion, council? It's a roll call vote, beginning with Bob.
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
And Jeanette?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item F, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution vacating utility easements in the Riverbend Second Edition in the city of Muscatine. A request has been received to vacate utility easements located in lots 21 and 22 of the Riverbend Second Edition on Claremont Drive. It is the property owner's intent to combine these two parcels, and the vacation of these utility easements will allow all necessary utility easements to be located along the perimeter. The Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously approved this request. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
That was Phil.
Yes.
And a second?
Second.
Second, Scott. Discussion, council. Roll call vote, beginning with Phil.
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And Scott?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item G, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution rejecting all bids for the municipal airport improvements identified as T-hangar apron drainage improvements. The original design of this project included the removal of a falling French drain, the installation of a storm sewer intakes, new storm sewer, upstream improvements for the existing oil and/or water separator, and new concrete. 6 bids were received, with the lowest bid significantly higher than the engineer's estimate for the project. Following a general discussion regarding the available options to move the project forward, it was agreed the city should reject all bids and file an amended application for funding in the future that more clearly defines the project scope and engineer's cost estimate. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
Scott?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Phil. Discussion, council. Also a roll call vote, beginning with Scott.
Aye.
Phil.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Jeanette.
Aye.
And Bob.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item H, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution accepting grants and awarding contract to complete reconnaissance surveys. For the past year, the Historic Preservation Commission has been discussing proposed reconnaissance surveys of 4 potential historic districts, which include all or portions of Mulberry Avenue, Culver Street, the Fair Oaks area, and the Country Club Hills area. The cost to complete all 4 surveys was $27,200. The Historic Preservation Commission submitted local grant requests to the Carver Trust, Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine, HNI, and Friends of the Muscatine Historic Preservation Commission, with a total of $9,700 received from these groups. The local funding organizations have advised that the Historic Preservation Commission it can use the funds awarded to conduct the surveys of the Fair Oaks area and Culver Street. The cost for those other surveys is $9,700. The Historic Preservation Commission is requesting that the City Council authorize the acceptance of the local grant funds totaling $9,700 and also authorize entering into a contract with Spark Consulting to conduct the reconnaissance surveys. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
That would be Tom.
Second.
And a second, Mark. Any discussion, council? It's a roll call vote, beginning with Tom.
Aye.
Jeanette?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item I, presented for City Council's consideration is a resolution awarding the contract for the golf course irrigation project. This project will replace and upgrade the original fairway irrigation system at the golf course. 4 bids were received, with the low bid from Midwest Irrigation in the amount of $321,200. The total amount includes alternate 1, $3,400 for removal of existing equipment, which includes roughly 200 irrigation heads and associated materials. As the golf course is an enterprise fund, this project will be funded through an internal loan. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I'm going to give that to Jeanette
Second, Your Honor.
and Phil with the second, and discussion, council.
Did we have an estimate for what we expected that to come in?
As indicated in the memo, it was roughly $260,000 to $280,000. It obviously did come in higher than projected. However, it may simply mean that we have an extra year on that internal loan, or as you also can note, the revenues for the past year are substantially higher than they were the previous year, which should help cover those additional costs.
I had a question from the background information that talked about possibility of value engineering. Would that just be fewer nozzles, or?
Basically, and we'll take a look at those options, but we really want to, I guess, do it right the first time, and if there are opportunities for value engineering without sacrificing that, we'll certainly take a look at that, but we didn't want to guarantee it. But once we get into the project with the contractor, we can take a look at that. We can't do that prior to awarding the contract.
So if they're gonna be removing the heads, are they removing the piping, or are they leaving that in? Just popping the heads out?
Just popping the heads?
Okay, thank you.
Getting a couple nods in the back there.
Yeah.
Do we know what
Anyone else,
do we know
counsel?
what the life expectancy of this system is, roughly? What they're,
Randy or Rich, you want to step up to the mic?
The other one's been there 32 years.
Yeah.
I guess it's estimated that approximately 50 years if it's maintained properly. So that's about what we've got out of the current system, probably 35 years, we're guessing. We don't know exactly when the original system was installed. We can't find any documentation, but 50 years on the new system.
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions, council?
Mayor, how long is it going to take us to repay back the internal loan?
Nancy, I believe we had it, was it 3 years? The internal loan?
Rich, can you come up to the podium, please?
Yes. 6 years with the revision? Up to 6 years with the revision, but our revenues were substantially higher. We'll take a look at it at budget time and proceed at that time.
When do you think that you might get started on the project?
We're going to move as quickly as we can on this project. We'll come back next week at the in-depth meeting and ask you to approve the contract and bond, and they'll start within 2 weeks after that notice to proceed.
Would you complete it this year then?
Yes, our intent is to complete it this fall. Any other questions?
Okay, folks, this is a roll call vote, and I believe, Jeanette, you made the motion, so let's start with you.
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And Scott?
Aye.
Phil?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Tom?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Item J, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to enter into a water utility reimbursement agreement for the Cedar Street reconstruction project. Approximately 1,900 feet of water main and associated work is currently under contract with Brandt Construction for $189,502. Muscatine Power and Water proposes to pay 50% of the water-related improvements up to $140,000, which means the city and MPNW would each fund $94,751 for this work. Additional work, including a tie to the Logan Street main, will be performed in 2013 and is proposed to be funded accordingly to the same ratio. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
Mark?
Second, Your Honor.
Second, Phil. Discussion, council?
Yeah, I had a couple of quick questions for
Okay.
John or whoever. In the memo from MP&W, it mentions that it could take months to get DNR approval on portions of it, yet
That
we expect to
agreement
do that
was,
this year.
actually, the agreement was older. It was before we had the contract out, and that's why it had the higher amounts listed. We didn't have a contract amount at that time. We submitted for a DNR permit. The permit came back quickly, and then we went under contract. They wouldn't have started construction unless we had the permit. So we do have the permit.
Any other questions, council?
Yeah, Your Honor, just one quick comment. There'll be a second agreement, utility agreement coming forth related to the cable. That we're still reviewing that. Probably see it at an upcoming meeting.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? This is a voice vote, ladies and gentlemen. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item K, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to enter into an agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for a surface transportation program project, Cedar Street to Parham Street to Hauser Street. The city will reconstruct Cedar Street from Parham to Hauser with improvements to include 3 lanes, concrete surface, trail and or sidewalk from Hauser to Parham, the north side, storm sewer on the west end, traffic signals at the high school entrance, and general grading from Hauser to Logan. The city will receive $1,758,271 in STP funds. It is staff's recommendation that City Council approve the federal aid agreement for a surface transportation program. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
I'll give that to Tom and a second to Scott. Any discussion, council?
Yeah, Your Honor, just a quick comment. This is roughly about twice what we originally projected to receive on the project, so I'd like to applaud Randy for his efforts in working with Bi-State to capture these additional dollars from projects that did not get completed in other communities, so appreciate it.
I had a quick question too, Randy. The other two grants that are applied for, what's the approximate amount there? You don't have to get all the way up.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
He needs some airtime.
For the record. Thank you, Randy, for making the trip.
You're welcome, man. The traffic signal grant, which is called a TSIP, Traffic Safety Improvement Program grant, will not be awarded until December 12th. But it had to be submitted, I think, in August or so. And so that one I won't know of. We requested the full amount for that. It's 100%, which is like close to $150,000 for the traffic signals that'll be at the high school. If we get this, then that is a big savings. If not, the signal cost is split 3 ways between Power and Water, the city, and the school district. The other grant has to do with the trail, and we were notified that we actually were going to apply for 3 different grants for the trail: Safe Routes to School, the Federal Enhancement Grant, and Federal Recreational Trail Grant. But we have been notified that those grant funds have been put on hold and will not be awarded at this particular time. We would have asked for approximately $200,000 to $250,000, which is the maximum amount for that trail. So I'm not confident that we will get that trail grant money, but I'm hoping that we certainly, they'll take a hard look at our signal grant, and because we think we have a good application for that one.
Good.
Okay.
Council, anyone else questions for Randy while he's here? Thank you, Randy. Folks, this is a voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item L, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve change orders number 2 and number 3 for the West Hill Storm and Sanitary Sewer Separation Project. Change orders number 2 involves deductions for eliminated work and for items with reduced scope. The total deducted amount is $12,417.17. Change order number 3 includes, excuse me, all extra work involving time and materials for 3 separate items. Item 3A involves sidewalk work at the southwest corner of Sycamore and 3rd Streets near Sycamore Printing. Items 3B involves repair and replacement of the water service line to the Credit Bureau of Muscatine. Item 3C includes removal, repair, and rerouting of the internal roof drain lines on the New York Dollar Store at 109 East 2nd Street. Change order number 3 amounts to an increase of $13,462.51. These change orders will increase the contract price by $1,045.37, bringing the total price to $3,693,360.64. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution as submitted?
So moved.
That's Scott, and a second?
Second.
Second, Tom, and discussion, council.
Your Honor, I do have one question. Why are we paying for the rerouting of the internal roof drain lines?
On the construction plans, there was notes about city being responsible for anything internal to the building, that the contractor was responsible for work out in the alley, and that's where their work started. And it wasn't feasible the way it was plumbed in the building to actually get it out of the building and into the storm sewer in the alley. That way, so then it had to go a different direction totally to get reconnected to separate sewer and water.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Council? Okay, this is a voice vote. Again, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item M, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to prohibit parking in the alley between Lombard and Brook Streets. This alley is very narrow, and parking in the alley makes plowing snow, getting emergency vehicles through, collecting refuse, and maneuvering around parked vehicles difficult. There is off-street parking and/or off-alley parking available for the residents adjacent to the alley. It is the Traffic Committee's recommendation to post the alley no parking to ensure better and safer traffic flow. In addition, the Traffic Committee is recommending the dead-end alley perpendicular to the subject alley is also posted no parking for the same reasons. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
That is Phil.
Second.
Second, Jeanette. Discussion, Council. Voice vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item N, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve change order number 1 for the airport obstruction removal project. On August 2nd, 2012, City Council awarded a contract to Dickey Farms Excavating Incorporated in the amount of $43,319.82 for the airport obstruction removal project. The project involved the clearing and grubbing of trees and shrubs on approximately 33 acres of airport property. Following the award, staff pursued a contractor that might be interested in recycling the debris for future use in landscaping. To that end, a proposal was received to grind the material from the largest site at no cost to the city. However, the contractor stated he was not interested in moving the equipment from the large site to several much smaller locations. Following a discussion with the contractor, he has agreed to move the equipment and grind all the material if he is compensated for the relocation of his equipment to accomplish the work. The proposal has resulted in a change order totaling $5,000 with the Federal Aviation Administration concurring. The project will be funded through 90% federal and a 10% local cost share. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So move, Your Honor.
That's Bob.
Second.
And a second, Tom. Any discussion, Council? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item O, presented for City Council's consideration is a request to approve change order number 1 for the Rehabilitate Airfield Pavements Project. This project was designed to provide minimal runway repair damage in the form of joint sealing, corner spalling repair, crack routing and sealing, partial depth concrete patching, and full-length concrete patching. Full-depth concrete patching. The original award was based on the engineer's estimate for specific quantities. With the completion of the project, it is necessary to adjust the actual quantities used for the rehabilitation effort. This change order has been reviewed and approved by the Federal Aviation Administration. As a result of this change order, the final cost for the project will be $58,597.69. This project will be funded through a 90% federal and 10% local cost share. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved, Your Honor.
Oh boy, that was a double up. We'll give that one to Scott. And Tom, I believe you were the other voice I heard. Any discussion, Councilman? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Item P, presented for City Council's consideration, is a request to approve the purchase of a used water tender and supplies to provide fire protection services for newly annexed areas without fire hydrants. Fire department staff located a used 1978 Chevrolet C65 in Walcott with a 3,200-gallon water tank for sale. The tender has 9,000 miles on it and is mechanically sound. The staff is requesting authorization to issue a purchase order to the Walcott Fire Department for $10,000 for the purchase of this water tender. This purchase will require an amendment to the budget. Is there a motion to approve the request as submitted?
So moved.
That's Mark.
Second.
Second, Tom. Discussion, council.
Mayor, I do have one question, and then it's pertaining, Jerry, would you mind coming up and, Jerry, currently that you send vehicles, trucks out to the Ripley's Park, what do you use to actually to carry the water currently?
Currently, we do not respond to Ripley's.
Okay.
We respond for medical calls, but we currently do not respond for structure fires.
If you did, that you do have a truck that holds 1,000 gallons?
We do have a truck that has 1,000 gallons. We have another truck that has 780. We also have another truck that has 750.
And with that amount of water, it's not going to last very long at all to put out a structural fire, is that correct?
That's correct.
That's why we really need that type of truck, because we don't have something to be able to fight that fire with.
That's true. In the city limits, we rely on fire hydrants to get our water supply. There are no fire hydrants out there, so we have to bring the water. So that's why we need a water tender, and this one has 3,200 gallons.
Thank you, Jerry. I just want to make sure the public knew that you didn't have a vehicle as such to last very long.
Anyone else, council?
Your Honor, just briefly, this is an unexpected opportunity that came up, fire department identified, and we're recommending for purchase tonight until we have an opportunity to negotiate terms for the installation of water out along 61 towards Ripley's. This is frankly a cheap option as compared to some of the others that have been considered to date. It's in good shape, and we're recommending that we purchase this tender tonight so that we can it'll provide a good option to provide a rural service that we don't currently provide.
Anyone else, council? Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Chief. Also a voice vote, folks. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries 6-0. Okay, moving along to item 14, communication from council members, and we'll begin with Councilman Lorette.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have one item this evening. I just wanted to take a moment to thank all the volunteers that went out recently during the United Way Day of Caring. These volunteers went out and worked on the zoo gardens. I believe that's been an excellent addition to Weed Park, as well as this entire community. And I want to thank those people for their efforts, because that's all been done mostly private effort. And again, I mean, so many people have gone out and enjoyed that area. We appreciate the work they've done. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mark. Bill?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Scott?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilman Bynum?
Mayor, I'd like to share something with everybody, including the TV audience. I've been educated, or being educated currently, with what they call the Citizens Fire Academy here in Muscatine. Roughly there's 10 or 11 students, and I'm proud to be one of them. What we've learned so far is being a firefighter is definitely a dangerous occupation. Very, very dangerous. They carry some very heavy insulated equipments and boots, and 50, 60 pounds of equipment to save them and to actually save people. We've learned how to throw hoses. Definitely, we've learned how to roll hoses up. But more than anything else, it's in education and safety. From learning on why should you have a smoke detector in your house, what type of smoke detector should you be having in the house, where it should be placed. And by the way, if you need a smoke detector installed, I bet I know some buddies on the fire department that would come on down and install it for you at no charge. This coming Sunday is one of our events, another one of our training sessions with the Jaws of Life. It'll be held down at Station Number 2 on Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon. The department will be showing us how to use that type of equipment. Again, not only do they show us, but they also educate us in classroom studies. It's great to be a fireman. It's great to be a part of the Citizen Fire Academy. Again, I want to say thank you to the chiefs and his staff, because they do wonderful things. They're all heroes in my neck of the woods, every last one of them, male or female, heroes, right here in Muscatine. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Bob. Jeanette?
Nothing at this time, Your Honor.
Okay. Tom?
I'd just like to say that I appreciate everybody coming tonight. From my perspective as the newest member of the City Council, it's a pleasure to see the chambers full. Hope to see you next week and the week after. You get my drift. Thank you.
Very good. Greg?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
And Fran?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Okay. You feeling okay?
Okay.
Gonna make it, right?
Gonna make
okay. I have not a comment, but an invitation. I received an email yesterday from the Canadian Pacific Railroad, who owns that marvelous lit-up vehicle called the Holiday Train. It's coming to Muscatine again this year on December 5th, which is a Wednesday night. Should arrive in town about 7:30 out of Davenport. And all they ask, the train officials, is that people that come down to see the train and hear the band that will play when the doors open up on one of the cars, that you bring a can of non-perishable food items that will go to the Salvation Army right here in Muscatine. So there's your invitation, and you'll probably hear about this many more times between now and December 5th. Okay, item 15 under other business. I would entertain a motion to enter into closed session.
So moved.
Motion by Scott.
Second, Your Honor.
And a second by Phil. All those in favor? Oh, this is a roll call vote, beginning with Scott.
Aye.
And Phil.
Aye.
And Mark.
Aye.
And Tom.
Aye.
Jeanette.
Aye.
And Bob.
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we would ask that you vacate council chambers so that we can get into closed session, and you'll be welcome back in once we come out of closed session. Thank you, in addition, for being here tonight.